The US has given South Korea the green light to build South Korea's first ever nuclear-powered submarine. After US President Donald Trump and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung's bilateral meeting on the sidelines of APEC, Trump writes on social media that our military alliance is stronger than ever before, and based on that, I have given them approval to build a nuclear-powered submarine rather than the old-fashioned and far less nimble diesel-powered submarines that they have now. Why is it happening now? What will a nuclear-powered submarine enable South Korea to do? And what are the wider regional implications? Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I am Wen-T Song. To discuss this and more, we're joined by Professor Liu De-hai, Distinguished Adjunct Professor at the National Chengchi University College of International Affairs, as well as Professor Su Yan-ping, Professor of Political Science at the Department of Political Science at National Chengchi University. A very warm welcome to you both to the show. In another post on social media, Donald Trump announced that a nuclear-powered submarine for South Korea would be built in the Philadelphia shipyards in the US, with the goal to help boost the American shipbuilding industry. The natural question for us to wonder then is why and why now? So I think I might come to you first, Professor Liu. Why does South Korea need a nuclear submarine? What new capability or function can it provide?
Let's start with the America's grand strategy. You know, with the advent of the 21st century, the biggest change in terms of the power struggle between the marine powers and the land powers, that is hypersonic missile. That missile has already, neutralized what's so-called AMD or TMD, theater missile defense or national defense system. This is one thing. And in our region, Russia, China, North Korea, they all have this kind of hypersonic missiles. So another reason is about, I already mentioned about the three powers, authoritarian regimes. They all have these hypersonic missiles, and the traditional defense system cannot really defend them. In that case, there's a need to do something to enhance the nuclear deterrence. So this is against the background why Donald Trump decided to announce the US is ready to test nuclear bombs again. And for South Korea, of course, the direct threat is from the north. And then recently, from South Korean perspective, China has built up its infrastructures in Yellow Sea, very close to South Korea. So in that case, South Korean side, they do not know what kind of the infrastructure. So that is why there's need for them to have this kind of submarine.
I see. And Professor Su, how about your take on this? Like, why the need for a nuclear submarine now? And what about the timing, especially at this juncture?
Well, we know that after Trump came into power for his second term, he tried very hard to push the so-called, deal-oriented diplomacy. So in a very short run, we can understand this deal with South Korea can be understood as a kind of, broader involvement of U.S. South Korea trade and also investment deal or project. So basically it has something to do not only with the regional security issues, but also with the economic concerns, especially this deal also implies that South Korea will have more investment in the U.S. industry.
I see. And certainly the timing in the lead up to APEC summit is also interesting as well in the background. But I think in addition to the political, diplomatic, and security calculus, there's also one about more technical side of the challenge. So Professor Liu, if you don't mind just elucidating what kind of technical challenges you think South Korea may encounter as it tries to move towards potentially building a nuclear submarine. What challenges is there?
Mm-hmm. Yes. The reason why Donald Trump allowed South Korea to build nuclear-powered submarines for itself and also for the United States and in the United States. So, South Korea now is second largest shipbuilding forces in the world, only next to China. And number 3 is Japan. So there's need for South Korea to do so. And then when they had the meeting with the South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, Lee Jae-myung mentioned about South Korea wants the United States to provide enriched uranium because South Korea already has the nuclear-powered submarine capacity in this technology. So that is why for Donald Trump, why not? Because it's good to already have this kind of technology. But the problem is that this kind of technology actually came from the Soviet Union. When Soviet Union collapsed and Russia owed South Korea a lot of money due to loans South Korea given to the Soviet Union previously. So that is why they had no choice but to provide weapons in exchange for paying the loan. So South Korea was lucky to get this kind of Soviet technology about this nuclear submarine. So that is why how to solve this kind of technological competitive between American nuke technology and the Soviet nuke technology. So that's something I think South Korea needs to face this kind of challenge. Number 1 challenge is this one.
I see, yes. And certainly we see South Korean president already requested President Trump to help providing nuclear fuel for South Korea as part of this endeavor. And I guess, Professor Su, if I may ask you also, so we see obviously a lot of complementarity there and rationale for cooperation between U.S. and South Korea on this. But do you see that South Korea might need other kind of partnership beyond the U.S. itself to make this work?
Yes, I think going back to 2021, when AUKUS was agreement was signed, basically one of the content of the agreement is that the U.S. and U.K. would help Australia to build 2 nuclear-powered submarines. So I think that this project has already been initiated. So it is likely that the South Korea would learn from this deal and this kind of trilateral cooperation. So in addition to the U.S., I think South Korea can also, or is trying to build a much closer partnership with Australia to learn how this kind of project can be built.
Professor Liu, on this as well, I know that you are one of our leading South Korea specialists here around for sure. So I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about the domestic political side of this whole equation. Like when this news is released, or maybe even before that, what's the general South Korean political climate like in terms of are people generally for or generally against nuclear submarines, and what are the main political actors who are for and against?
Yes. Actually, under the previous U.S. administration, Biden government, already 70% of South Koreans would like to have nuclear weapons and make their own nuclear weapons. But the Biden administration only promised to send its nuclear powered submarines to protect South Korea. So that's not enough for South Koreans. So in that case, we can easily know the majority of South Koreans favored to have their own nuclear capacity, including the submarine. Why? Very easy to find out. The northern enemies from the North Korea. 2 Koreas could not get along well. And now North Korea already designated South Korea as number 1 rival. So North Korea can do that. More than that, North Korea is going to build its own nuclear power submarine, already announced. So in that case, under a lot of pressure for South Koreans. So that is why majority of South Koreans favored to have its own nuclear powered submarines. For those who's still against possessing of these kind of nuclear weapons or submarines, they believe this is very dangerous because this, it can easily, once you have this kind of weapon, then you can use it. Okay, so in that case, it's very dangerous to have this kind of catastrophic consequences of the nuclear war. All right? Another reason is about the two Koreas. Still, some South Koreans would like to see the reunification of North Korea, or at least no military confrontation. So that is why engaging North Korea is the most important one for most South Koreans or older generations.
And Professor Su, what is your assessment of the same question about support or lack thereof for nuclear issues and threat perception, more broadly speaking?
Well, in South Korea, well, as far as I know, there is also a kind of voice that try to build its own submarines, right? So basically, that is pretty much in line with this most recent deal with the United States, where the main difference would be that one is that the building of the submarine will be with the United States' help. The other one is that some political force wants to build, seek to have a plan to build its own submarines. But the main purpose will be more likely the same, which is to strengthen the deterrence capability of South Korea to North Korea and potentially to China.
I see. So thank you both for those very insightful comments. So next, I think after discussing what's happening between South Korea and U.S., a natural next question to ask is, what do the neighbors think, right? South Korea doesn't exist in a vacuum. So China, we know that China has already warned South Korea about fulfilling South Korea's nuclear non-proliferation obligations. Indeed, we saw that China's President Xi Jinping, in the recent bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the APEC summit, Xi expressed concern already that he thinks the nuclear power submarine for South Korea could run counter to promote regional peace and stability. So I think I want to come to you first, Professor Liu, again, that this reaction from Chinese President Xi Jinping, is this more or less what we expect from China anyway, or is there anything special wrinkles to this?
For Chinese, actually, they do not like both Koreans. They believe both Koreans' action and reaction, they have already brought about this kind of rising tension. Now it's moving closer to the possible nuclear warfare. Starting from the North Korea. North Korea, they joined the Russia-Ukraine war in exchange for the technology, military technology from Russia. For example, North Korea is going to build its own nuclear-powered submarine, technology, of course, from Russia. All right? And then South Korea, in response, South Korea also wants to have the similar defense weapons. So now United States offered this. But from Chinese perspective, this is in reality, from their perspective, it's a violation of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. But from the U.S. perspective, U.S. said it's not, because we control the amount of enriched uranium, rather than allow them to have all the abundant enriched uranium, because this is the most crux. If you have the enriched uranium, that means you can easily make nuclear bombs or weapons.
Wow. And Professor Su, what is your assessment of the same question? Chinese reaction and all these kind of technical, strategic calculations involved?
Well, it is pretty unsurprising to see that China would definitely denounce or try to make some announcement to make South Korea to understand that this is a potential threat to China. It has something to do probably with the two-front war scenario. So basically, in general, probably this new deal between the U.S. and South Korea might provide a kind of new uncertainty to the regional security, and that China does not want to see.
And Professor Liu, on the North Korea topic as well that Professor Su just mentioned, how do you expect North Korea to read into this development, and how would this new development potentially impact on how inter-Korean relations evolve in the near future?
There's no doubt about that because I think North Korea will accelerate its nuclear-powered submarine building. In addition, North Korea will try to ask direct talks with United States. That's another way to, to show North Korea is better than South Korea in terms of diplomatic warfare. That is why this time Kim Jong-un refused to celebrate South Korea hosted the APEC summit and met, to meeting the Donald Trump at Panmunjom. Okay, so that's about that's kind of two-front war. I think should be three-front war because Russia also has territorial ambition over the Japan's Hokkaido. So that is why U.S. has to do something about it, or those three work together at the same time. Oh, it's not easy to defend.
Yeah.
That is also why U.S. need to upgrade its allies in this region to support the United States.
Indeed, certainly looking like it's going to be an inter-bloc rivalry going forward. So I think on this issue, one major actor here, of course, is Japan. And we know that Japan just got a new prime minister, of course, Takaichi Sane. And again, wondering, Professor Su, what's your take in terms of what will be Japan's reaction to this whole process? And what does it mean for Japan-Korea relations?
Well, the new prime minister, we know that she is more toward the conservative and nationalist. So basically, I believe that the current Japanese government is more likely to welcome this kind of deal because that can, first of all, enable the trilateral cooperation between Japan, US, and South Korea. And also, it can largely enhance the capacity of the deterrence led by the U.S. against China and also North Korea. So, but at the same time, people are watching that, right now the Japanese government is trying very, well, at least for now, is trying very hard to be very careful dealing with this issue because we all know that the conservative politicians in Japan might have something to do with this historical sensitivities with South Korea. So basically, we are still looking at and observing, what would be the next step that the new prime minister would do in terms of facing this, colonial history in the past.
Indeed, alliance management is certainly going to be a major challenge going forward, for sure. And on this issue, we know that U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is visiting South Korea this week for their annual security consultative meeting in order to discuss plans between U.S. and South Korea about how to respond to the changing security environment and threats. Exactly what do they mean by, I think it's raising some question mark. But meanwhile, we know that some observers have been speculating about the possibility of a two-front war, or for that matter, like Professor Liu just mentioned, potentially three-front war. But yes, basically the theory is just in short that hypothetically, if China were to invade Taiwan, North Korea would potentially also pursue military action against South Korea at the same time, so that together they would be able to distract, complicate, and overwhelm the U.S. and other friends and partners of Taiwan and South Korea. So I want to ask you, Professor Liu, how realistic do you think this two-front war or potentially three-front war theory is in reality? What is your assessment?
I think the possibility is actually is there. Because as I said, now the world has changed. This world is no longer dominated by marine powers. That means U.S., Japan, UK, okay? So that is why land powers, wants to expand its influence in this region. And also because of different ideologies, both our side is democratic camps, their side is the authoritarian regimes. So they do have that kind of desire to expand their influence, to consolidate their domestic support. That is possible. But of course, that is why on this side, United States has tried to allow South Korea to have the a nuclear-powered submarine, and actually Japan's newly elected Prime Minister Takaichi, she has before that Kyongju summit, she already mentioned about Japan wants to have a nuclear-powered submarine as well. So in that case, this whole region, U.S., Japan, Korea, they all have, plus AUKUS, they all have this kind of nuclear-powered submarine, because this can serve as very important deterrence function, because they cannot locate those submarines. So as long as they have the submarine-launched ballistic missiles equipped, in that case, they can become the offensive submarine. But at least so far, they can identify or find out the rivals submarines. So that does have this kind of deterrence function.
Indeed, deterrence through collective action in a particular sense and pooling resources. Professor Su, I want to ask you as well. Do you see parallels between AUKUS and this new potential deal between U.S. and South Korea that Professor Liu sort of alluded to earlier? And what kind of new synergy and complementarity do you potentially see between the AUKUS and this new Korea-U.S. arrangement?
Well, in my opinion, I think the U.S. is trying to craft a new regional strategy in East Asia and also probably like Indo-Pacific. And the attempt of AUKUS in 2021 is one major effort. And right now, I think the new deal between the U.S. and South Korea on building a nuclear-powered submarine would be the second attempt or effort trying to reshape the regional security. And some commentators have already mentioned that this deal could be understood as a AUKUS plus, because it also has something to do with nuclear submarine building, and also it's potentially has a very important strategic value and importance in terms of deterring the two from war from happening. So, but we also need to pay attention to the other aspect, which is that making this deal does not imply that the submarine will be built overnight. It will take a lot of time, especially there is still some technical limitation out there that the shipyard that is supposed to build the nuclear submarines is still a commercial shipyard in its nature. So basically, you still need to undergo the procedure of the verification and also qualification of the nuclear safety issues, something like that. And also, it still needs to build some more facilities to build a nuclear reactor, etc. So basically, it is a grand strategy happening, but it still takes time to observe what will happen.
Thank you for those comments. One issue that keeps coming back is the one of alliance management. And we know that back in 2023, US, Japan, and South Korea they signed a three-way trilateral security pact to work together more to develop a common Indo-Pacific security framework. However, those three leaders from US, Japan, and South Korea are all gone now. And the question then is, with change of leadership, with change in top-level personnel, does it bring any new challenges to this security pact, especially now they have different leaders on all sides? What new dynamic, what new risk factor would that entail for the viability and cohesion of this trilateral framework? Maybe I have to start with Professor Liu.
Oh, yes. I believe a little bit different in terms of the leadership style. Under Biden, he has tried to lead these two organizations, AUKUS and U.S., South Korea, Japan trilateral security, two different subsystems. But under Donald Trump, U.S. is the only leader controlling the two organizations. But more important than that, U.S. wants to enhance this kind of linkage and the coordination between the two organizations. Why is that so? You can easily find out. South Korea, Japan and Australia, they all, plus the United States, they all wants to build this, nuclear power submarines. One thing, for sure, they have to get the rare earths and critical minerals from Australia, because Australia is rich in those critical minerals and rare earths. So in that case, I think that's going to be the new style of this kind of two organization.
Thank you so much. So I think I had to leave it there, but thank you so much, Professor Liu and Professor Su, for sharing your expertise and your insight with us. If you like our show, please search for us on YouTube and give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching our show today. Stay safe and see you next time.